course, we're in the middle of the UCP leadership race, so I guess Jason Kenney was asked about this and said the Catholics, they can teach what they want. How dare the Premier tell the Catholics what they can and can't teach?
Jason Kenney, who, let it be said, is a devout Catholic, Jesuit educated,
Yes.
you know, he would be the last person in Alberta who would bring down the hammer on the Catholic Church and tell them that they had to teach provincial curriculum.
But and also, sorry, Brian Jean, same thing, saying that the province shouldn't be dictating the ethics to the Catholic Church. Yeah. So they're both on that side on this thing. This has become a big political issue heading forward. Whoever wins, likely Kenney, but Kenney or Jean, they become UCP leader this weekend. And then next week it becomes a fight between Notley and the UCP over this issue. It's interesting, of course. I think the NDP, I think, would like to have this fight if they can project the UCP as being too extreme. But there's an issue here about like how far does the province go to push this on the Catholic Church? I know that Paul has researched this issue a lot more than I ever have. To me, the big question is, why are we paying public dollars to the Catholic School Board to run the schools when they're actually against the public system when it comes to teaching sex ed?
Well, it's a constitutional right that they have their own.
I can tell you why, because under the terms of the Northwest Territories Act, which was then folded into the Alberta Act, you know, this is sort of a reaction to the Riel Rebellion. At the time, the Catholic community here was largely Francophone, and a huge percentage were Métis. And in the wake of the Riel Rebellion, there was a negotiation that said that Catholic school rights in this province would not be infringed. And so ever since before we became a province in 1905, it is hardwired into the founding laws of Alberta that there will be an eternal protection for Catholic education. And when the Constitution was repatriated in 1982, that was written into the Constitution. So I've spoken to different legal and constitutional experts who have different opinions, but there is certainly one opinion that says that if Alberta wanted to do this, first they would have to have a province-wide referendum. That's something that was brought in under Klein, that if you're going to change the Constitution, you have to have a province-wide referendum. You'd need, of course, the majority consent of the legislature here, and then you'd need the permission of the House of Commons and the Senate. Now, some people say you would also need the permission under the amending formula of a certain number of provinces with a certain amount of population. Other people say, no, that's not the interpretation, because this is sort of an adjunct to the Constitution. You don't need Quebec to sign off on it. But it is much more complicated than people think, because people just keep saying to me, well, why don't we just get rid of the Catholic school system? Well,
and other provinces of Quebec has got rid of it.
They did not have the same kind of legislation that we had. And I know that sounds weird, because Quebec...
No, it's the same as in Saskatchewan. It's exactly the same setup.
Alberta and Saskatchewan, who were the Northwest Territories before, entered Confederation, and this was a guarantee that was given to the Francophone, largely Métis population at the time, to prevent, you know, escalations of the tensions that led to the Riel Rebellion. So, I mean, there's fascinating history here, but in the meantime, it is 2017. Most of the kids who are in the Catholic school system now are neither Francophone nor Métis. This is a vestigial thing. And there are questions, because if you actually look at the Alberta Act, what it says is they're entitled to run their own school systems, and they're entitled to have a certain period of religious instruction set aside every day. It doesn't say you get to have your own curriculum where Catholicism permeates everything that you do, but that has been the way it's been interpreted for the last 50 years.
Janet, you and I